सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत क्या है ना कि मदरहुड को तो हम ग्लोरीफाई कर देते हैं।
या
सो हम तो बड़ी आसानी से भूल जाते हैं। पहने थे, तुम रात में बाहर क्यों निकली, तुम्हारा बॉयफ्रेंड क्यों है, तुम इनके साथ पार्टी में क्यों। कौवा और औरत एक जैसे होते हैं, उनको मारा नहीं जा सकता।
you are creating quite a buzz right now.
Is that so?
Yeah, you are. Everybody on Twitter, all men are very uncomfortable right now. They feel ki, Arey, what? Why this story? It's making them feel uncomfortable. Like there's this discomfort in them. And you have been writing stories about women's struggles. What do they go through? Their journey, which nobody talks about because nobody wants to hear कि women के life में चल क्या रहा है. Like we don't care. They just want that hunky dory life के अरे सब externally सब अच्छा दिखा रहे, but अंदर क्या चल रहा है nobody's talking about it. And then you come, you are one of the writers of Arya. You write Mrs. and Mrs. is creating this you've created that dent in the universe कि सब सुन रहे हैं, सब देख रहे हैं. Females, if they want to just tell कि अरे हमारे साथ ये होता है, they're just forwarding these memes कि अरे देखो ये होता है हमारे साथ. And there is this big platform open for girls to talk. There's this forum where girls can use their voice to talk about something.
Yeah, it's a part of the cinema, I would say. I mean, it's not like I've not been telling these cautionary tales of what the roles and responsibilities should have been, but they are, the gender roles within familial system or society, and the imbalance of it all. So it's not the first time that I have written it's not my story. As we know, it's Geo Baby's story, Great Indian Kitchen. This is an adaptation of the Great Indian Kitchen, and it's incredible that a man could actually look at it also from a point of view of probably as an observer, which made Great Indian Kitchen what it was. And when I was called in to write the adaptation, what I could bring in was my female gaze, my lived experience.
Yeah.
And that lived experience, therefore, I think is connecting with a lot of men and women more, obviously, because it's the shared experience, because it's unlike the original, which is great. It's a masterpiece in itself. It's inside out.
Yeah.
Instead of outside in, so that is, I think, the great difference between the original and the adaptation, and the power of cinema, which is like really making it reach far and wide, which is what Arya was also about. And in that sense, when you have this kind of a platform where people engage with some of the lines that you have written in a way where they look at the value system that they come from in a way where they can see through the loopholes, the gaps, and some of them have the courage to question it, to challenge the status quo. It's the biggest victory for a writer.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that Mrs. became that opportunity where, like you rightly said, there's a dent in the universe, and I'm hoping there are more questions that are being asked.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because it's not just my generation. It's, a lot of women are saying that, but ab to nahi hota. Men are in fact saying that, we live alone, nuclear family setup and all that. And I don't make you have a cook.
Yeah.
But what we forget is this is just a generation before. And this is not the reality of the entire society. It's not about who's cooking.
Yeah.
It's not about the responsibilities that have to be very naturally given to the woman who leaves her identity behind, leaves her home behind, sometimes even compromise on her dreams and enters a system with a hope that she will be accepted. If there is so much adaptability that she's offering, what is the acceptance that's coming from the other side? So this fundamentally is how, the marriage system has worked forever in India. And that is what we are now beginning to question with say, Mrs. or there's so many other stories where women also want to sort of reassert. Mrs. has made the buzz because it also talks about microaggressions, which we don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's not just about these. You don't have to raise a hand. You don't have to. Violence can be in so many forms, and violence also comes from inequality, or violence also comes from not seeing, understanding, or respecting the other person. And And that is what that is what humanism is all about, to be able to see the other as the other and completely understand and completely respect for who he or she is. That is what Mrs. has managed to capture, and it's a brilliant team that came together. The director Aarti Kada, who herself brought in a lot of other metaphors, visual metaphors. Sanya is a great performer, and the ensemble that the producers managed to get, the casting director managed to get, is really just taking something which was fundamentally in its core very honest and extremely courageous to another level. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to be a part of a very powerful platform which is so collaborative, and cinema that has managed to really reach far and wide.
Yeah. Was it difficult to make Mrs. because it's about producers? They are always looking for machos and to be displayed on screen because that's how the theaters are full. But obviously, Mrs. chose to be on a social media platform,
OTT, yeah.
OTT,
Yeah.
rather than going on theaters.
No,
So
one
was
would
it a
have
struggle?
definitely, that's not my space to say because I'm a writer, but yes, as a writer also and as a part of the team also, we would have definitely wanted it to be theatrical, because then you reach,
Yeah.
you become massy, you reach far and wide.
Hmm.
But really, I think that would have put the burden on the box office on the film.
Yeah.
And it's not that film.
Hmm.
So word of mouth and the kind of, I mean, I was reading somewhere that the film in the second week has got a viewership raised by 181%. That is
Wow.
rare
Yeah.
for, more in the first week itself, 250 million views, which is incredible, and from across the world,
Yeah.
being watched in so many films. So I think we should really be grateful that it was an OTT, because then it could reach far and wide, and it could be seen in very personal spaces on mobile phones that women would want to watch, or on personal TVs, personal laptops, and so many other platforms, which made it so much more intimate as a viewing experience, and that adds to really what misses the experience of
Yeah.
living with Richa's character, Divakar's character, or other characters in the film, makes it so much more personal. So I'm actually grateful that it's an OTT.
Yeah. So I've noticed that you are interested in telling a lot of women's stories.
And why should I not be? Are you not?
Yeah, why should you not? Which is really great, but do you think there is enough space for women's stories to come out? And like you are creating, like what drives you to write such stories?
Lived experience. I mean, really, that's the only thing that I can say. And also, I'm like, Acha, theek hai. It's not like I have not written male characters, or I will not write male characters, or there are stories. I mean, the current project that I'm working on is a very masculine world, in the sense that it is helmed by a man. It has more men in the system than women. It's about a system which is traditionally been led by men. And I'm loving it, because then you have so many nuances to bring in.
Yeah.
Having said that, there is so much scope. It has always been the case. I mean, half of the population of the world has not had the opportunity or the medium. And look at something as fundamental as that. Look at the Nobel Prize winners list, for example, or Booker Prize winner list. It is only in the recent times that we started to see women authors there. It is women writing is very new. It's probably 200 years old. In India, even less.
Yeah.
So we have so much ground to cover, right? Historically, socially, culturally, there is so much that one has to dig deep and bring back into the narrative, which has largely been controlled by male authors. By male authors, I mean also authors who were writing history, who were, doing research on sociology, who were defining public policy and law, who were making international relations policies, who were, at every aspect of documentation that you can talk about. So now we need to have the female gaze, and now we have to say that, okay, about 70 odd countries have women leaders, then how do we tell the story differently? In our own society, about 40% women are coming back to the workforce or
Hmm.
are trying to get to the workforce. They're trying to break the glass ceiling.
Mhm.
How do we tell those stories? Traditionally, we've had women working in the farms forever.
Hmm.
But have we told their stories enough? Do we talk about childcare enough? Who talks about that if not us?
Yeah.
Who raises a voice in the parliament for something as basic as 33% reservation
Yeah.
if not us?
Yeah.
And why is there so much resistance when it comes, which comes from the political parties? They all become on one side when you talk about, like, all ideology is kept aside.
Yeah.
Why have we not been able to get? So there's so many. What I'm trying to say is there are battles to be fought at so many different levels
Yeah.
that it is only imperative that more and more women begin to tell more and more women's stories,
Hmm.
and men too.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. I think we need that. Yeah.
Yeah.
People need to hear our stories as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And space will create the space.
Yeah.
There will be a dent in the universe. There will be. I mean, with the rise of OTT, for example, suddenly women characters became so. TV traditionally was always a medium of women protagonists. But OTT managed to do that, and slowly films will also begin to change, and they are changing. So it's a long one,
Yeah.
but why not? We'll be at it.
Yeah. Hoping in the next 10-20 years, at least we reach there.
Yeah, and we do not have to worry about, oh, it's a man's story or a woman's story. It's a story of our times, and it has to be told in as balanced manner as possible, and has to have all sorts of investigations, interrogations, socially, culturally, and that's what writing is all about. That's what art does. We are always interrogating and looking at things which are not working and challenging them.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we'll get to a point where it doesn't so much become about men's stories, women's stories. It becomes about stories, and we have bigger battles to fight. We can't just be fighting all this. मतलब औरतों की कहानियां, मर्दों की कहानियां. अरे भाई, हम तो बेसिक फंडामेंटल पे अभी अपने लोकतंत्र की लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं. हम बराबरी की लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं. हम अभी बेसिक फंडामेंटल चीजें जो ह्यूमन राइट्स है ना, एजुकेशन के लिए लड़ रहे हैं, बेटर हेल्थ केयर के लिए लड़ रहे हैं. ऑफ कोर्स औरतों के लिए वो और भी ज्यादा मुश्किल हो जाता है, लेकिन उम्मीद की जा सकती है कि अगले 20 साल में हम उस जगह पे आएंगे जहां हमें हम साथ में मिलके वो सारी लड़ाइयां लड़ेंगे जो ह्यूमन रेस को बेहतर बनाने में आगे ले जाए, बजाय इसके कि वो आदम और हवा की लड़ाई है.
So बहुत सारी लड़कियों ने, एंड माय कजिन हु इज इन हर 20s, उसने मुझे ये मीम्स भेजे कि मिसेस मूवी देखकर महिला समाज में डर का माहौल सा हो चुका है. और दैट फियर, ठीक है, मतलब वो मीम देखने में तो बड़ा मजा आ रहा है, बट देयर इज दिस बिहाइंड दिस ह्यूमर, देयर इज दिस रियल फियर व्हिच पीपल, गर्ल्स वांट टू टॉक अबाउट. As a society, do you think ये जो fear है, is it like justifiable or?
Oh, that fear has always been there, Payal. I got married 20 years ago. I can tell you that I was petrified.
Yeah.
It was scary. Look at, what you're signing up for. मतलब तुमको पता ही नहीं है कि कहाँ क्या कैसे, and especially in the cases of arranged marriages, where you have no idea what you're getting into, and the roles that they suddenly, तुम पे थोप दिया जाता है. मैं एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे रही हूँ कि भाई मर्दों के लिए तो कभी नहीं बदला, पर लुक एट, आपकी पूरी पर्सनालिटी चेंज हो जाती है फ्रॉम अ, and I'm not saying I had to go through it. I've had the privilege of staying who I was, but I've seen so many women go through it. Jahan, from being very progressive, going to a very, very, having the best of education possible, going to the best of schools and colleges, and suddenly you get married. And then you meet that person, that woman who's in a sari, sindoor, bindi, like really fully carrying the identity of a married woman, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, socially. And where is her identity? And this has happened to all the women till about last generation, and I'm sure it happens with a lot of women across the country even now. Nothing changes for the man. He brings home the woman. Even if you're you're saying acha hum to alag reh rahe hain kind of a thing, you're still being defined by the family name that you've taken, or your children will be defined by the family that they're born in. So what happens to the 25 years of the identity that you really sort of kept close to your heart, even though you were raised to be uprooted? आपको तो हमेशा गमले के पौधे की तरह लगाया गया ना कि आपको तो यहाँ से ट्रांसप्लांट किया जाना है, आप कहीं और लगा दिए जाएंगे, आपकी तो मिट्टी होती नहीं। तो फिर आप क्या करेंगे? फिर आप सोचेंगे कि अच्छा ठीक है, फिर हम आसमान छुएं, फिर हम अपनी जड़ें गहरी करें जहां हमको लगाया जा रहा है वहां, या फिर हम इतना बड़ा दरख्त बने कि हमारी छांव में लोग बैठे हैं। सो यू बिगिन टू एक्चुअली लुक फॉर ways to become useful, which is what women did as service providers, as caretakers, as nurturers, as mothers, as daughters-in-law.
Yeah.
Which is a very difficult thing. Now, when that is being talked about, obviously the fears will be talked about, and they're absolutely valid. What should we be doing? Should we be completely dismissing them? Yeah, shutting them down? No. And not to say that family as an institution or marriage as an institution is completely should be dissed or dismissed completely. No. It's the most beautiful institution where two people come together to build a new life in a way which will empower both of them, which will probably help them become the best versions of themselves. That's the fundamental need of an institution called marriage. So, if that is what is being carried forward in communication within the family, or to our children, or to each other, or to women amongst themselves, where that confidence is coming, that no, but equal partnership. If not equal partnership, enough partnership for me to be able to communicate what I go through.
Yeah.
The game will change. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So there is a way of overcoming this.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And we are all optimists. One is just hoping that it'll in fact create space for some sort of a more expression of, not to say that men are not compassionate, but that compassion to really now show up without any, I keep saying this again and again, that women are as much a flag bearer of patriarchy or a vehicle of patriarchy as men who are the victims of it.
Yeah, they are.
So how do you sort of have a safe communication space where you can say that, hey, we are both going through this fear. It's not as easy for me. I am also signing up for something completely new.
Yeah.
But that burden is usually put by the women, also because that's what the folklores have been, the folk songs have been. That's what traditionally has been communicated to the daughter of the family. कि हाँ भाई तुम्हारी रक्षा करेगा, तुम उसको राखी बांधोगी, वो लड़ाई में लड़ने जाएगा और तुमको उन अत्याचारियों से बचाएगा जो तुमको उठा के लेके जा सकते हैं. So I am what? I am to be protected. I am to be saved. I am to be. That narrative has to change eventually. And all these songs which talk about bidai, babol naihar chhut ho jaye. So all of that naihar ka chhutna is so much more than, spiritually if you look at it, it's very different. But naihar ka chhutna is also identity ka chhutna. So then, for the woman to say, for the woman to be told or that it will still be yours. So, there are so many things that we're talking about. I'm saying I know that I'm oversimplifying it. And at the cost of this oversimplification, let me still say this. There's so many things that we're talking about here. नैहर छूट हो जाए, रिचा अपने घर को छोड़ के दिवाकर के घर में आती है, तो वो क्या क्या छोड़ के आती है? वो अपना इनहेरिटेंस राइट छोड़ के आती है, वो अपनी पहचान छोड़ के आती है, वो अपने माँ बाप छोड़ के आती है, वो अपनी पुरानी जिंदगी छोड़ के आती है, वो अपने ख्वाब छोड़ के आती है, वो अपना जज्बा, अपना पैशन, अपनी ट्रेनिंग, अपना एजुकेशन, अपने दोस्त सब छोड़ के आती है. So to be able to have that confidence that none of this will be taken from you. Do we have that? Can we say that with confidence? Can men say that with confidence? Can our elders or the families say that with confidence? The day they begin to say that with confidence will be the day where we'll find a way of dispelling this fear that women, like I said, have, which is very, very valid.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally. Yeah. So, apart from this, you've also written a book, apart from screenwriting, doing film.
I have written 3 books. 4th, actually, but yeah.
Okay, the 4th one you're writing currently? Yeah. Okay. I've read one of the book, Bhali Ladkiyan, Buri Ladkiyan. and you're talking about how the society frames women very easily into
Yeah.
कि बहुत ही thin line है, उस thin line के आर जाओ तो good girl, उसके पार जाओ तो bad girl, and it's always कि society decide करती है कि क्या अच्छा behavior है, क्या बुरा behavior है. We never get to decide because जब से हम, like since we are kids, rights even on our body is by other people कि
Yeah.
आपको इस तरह से रहना चाहिए, आप बाल खुले नहीं रखना चाहिए,
बिल्कुल.
आपको मेकअप नहीं करना चाहिए, या रेड लिपस्टिक.
Oh my God!
तो
I am
बिल्कुल
only
नहीं.
now embracing my red lipstick.
Yeah, really, because तब ऐसा लगता था अरे यार कोई देख लेगा रेड लिपस्टिक तो what will that person think about me?
Yeah.
So all of the rights society decides कि लड़कियों
Fully.
को किस तरह से behave करना चाहिए, and you very beautifully written in that film कि जो कैरेक्टर है कैसे चेंज हो रहा है, गांव से आके वो सिटी में रहने की कोशिश कर रही है, शी इज ट्राइंग टू चेंज हरसेल्फ, बट इन स्पाइट ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दिस द सोसाइटी स्टिल फेल्स हर. सो how what drove you to write this book?
Actually, the book was a reverse adaptation of a very amateur web series that I had written and directed, which is called The Good Girl Show.
Okay.
And given the constraints that audiovisual medium has, also because production-wise, money-wise, there was so much that I wanted to actually explore through that. And this was a few years after, 3-4 years after the famous case that happened, Nirbhaya case or Jyoti Singh case as we know it now. And I had also started to, I've lived in Delhi since 1996. I was exactly Pooja Prakash's age when I moved from a small town to Delhi, came there for the first time, and was also trying to navigate my way through the city. So purely out of curiosity that, okay, from 1996, when I came 20 years later, 2016, when I was working on that web series, which later became the book, really purely out of curiosity, I wanted to see how much of the city has changed. How much of the cityscape has changed, and is it still a safe place for the women? This is also the time when Pinjra Tod movement was going on. A lot of us were actually going to public spaces to reclaim the space, to keep, make it safe. This is after 2012, 2013, 2014, all of that. And there was so much conversation. I have to say this, as an independent woman, a mother of two, I was once driving my mother back from the airport, and my two kids were on the back seat. They were very young. I think they were 6-7 years old. My mother was with me. I was driving. It was 10:30 in the night, and I lost the way. Sort of I missed a turn, and I was driving through the central Delhi area, where a car overtook me and chased us for good 15-18 minutes. I cannot tell you the stress that I went through. I have never felt so well. I was supposedly safe. This was my own car.
Yeah, and you were
and
with your
like these
family.
hooligans who were chasing, making strangely, you're trying to come in front of me. My mother's with me, my kids are with me.
Yeah.
I have never been so scared. So that also like sort of triggered the thing that as women, are we not safe? It doesn't matter. This is also the time when you would hear a lot of these cases against violence against women of various kinds, with an 80-year-old, with a 3-year-old kid. So there was a lot of like really anger and I'm like, okay, so which means the most vulnerable section, which is the 17-18-year-old to 20-25-year-old who do not have an agency, who are still figuring their way into the city, and especially the ones who do not have city as this, like the Delhi as their homes, what are they going through? So that's when I started to actually talk to a lot of women, especially North Campus. I've interviewed a lot of them who were living in hostels, PGs, and it was heartbreaking to know that it hadn't changed in 20 years. Governments had come and gone, and we had made flyovers, and there was metro, and infrastructure-wise, we had so much of development. Apparently, the numbers on all these matrix, education, workforce amalgamation, all of that had started to show. We were one of the developing countries, and all of that. Commonwealth Games, sab ho raha tha. Lekin basic fundamental safety of women in Delhi was still questionable. So that's where Bhali Ladkiyan Buri Ladkiyan came from. And the onus always is put on you. तुमने ऐसे कपड़े पहने थे, तुम रात में बाहर क्यों निकली, तुम्हारा बॉयफ्रेंड क्यों है, तुम इनके साथ पार्टी में क्यों गई? So it was,
It's
and
bizarre.
and it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And my daughter's now that age. I mean, my daughter's now almost 19, and when I look at her journey, I mean, has it changed? Maybe from my point of view, I'm like, no, it has been a progressive upbringing, and I've given her safety and all of that. But she still has to cover herself if she's in a place where she doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
She has to think thrice, twice, sometimes, or more, twice, thrice, or more,
Yeah.
when she's putting up a DP on her WhatsApp or whatever, because she's constantly fearing being judged.
Yeah.
So the point that I'm trying to make is the onus is not on us. The labels do not come from women. The labels are given to us. However, the onus of breaking those labels and setting ourselves free is on us.
Yeah.
So we define what is right and what is wrong for us. We define what is bhali and what is buri for us,
Yeah.
and what is acceptable and what is not, and what are the boundaries that we will cross. We decide those boundaries. I decide for myself, you decide for yourself. Nobody decides it for us.
Yeah.
It's a long battle, but at it, like, constantly. And the labels are not of yours to give to me.
Yeah. When you look at stories like Handmaid's Tale, it's whenever I watch that series, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. Like I'm like clenching my teeth, or like just holding something which is whatever is around me. I was like, can this happen to our society? And I feel, why not? Because whatever I can't think of is happening around in the world.
Yeah.
And India's sex ratio it's bizarre.
Abysmal.
When I got to
Yeah.
I was like 106 male to 100 females. मतलब लड़कियां हमेशा कम होने ही वाली है. तो how do you solve this? Which I thought कि अभी तक solve हो रहा है कि अरे female infanticide नहीं हो रहा है, but हो रहा है, अभी भी हो रहा है. Whenever I go back to my farm, whenever I visit Latur, there are people going to Babas to have this some jadi booty, which will, I don't know how, अंदर ही internally तुम्हारा sex change होने वाला है. लोग लेके जा रहे हैं उनको दवाइयाँ पिला रहे हैं, and that Baba is making money out of it कि अरे हाँ अब लड़का हो गया. So do you think कि as a society can we come to a place sometime कि Handmaid's Tale जैसा situation हो सकता है?
I hope not. I really hope not. But like you rightly said, हम dystopian दुनिया में रह रहे हैं.
Yeah.
और कुछ भी मुमकिन है. और वो तो मतलब उसकी अनफॉर्चुनेटली उसकी चीजें तो दिखने लगी है ना. मतलब हम क्या बेसिक फंडामेंटल हमारे लिए अबॉर्शन राइट्स 100 आदमी बैठ के डिसाइड करेंगे. हमारे लिए हमें किस तरह के हमारे शरीर पर किस तरह का अधिकार होना चाहिए वो कोई और तय करेगा. तो फिर तो और भी ज्यादा, क्योंकि अब तो ये भी एक समाज का एक बड़ा तबका ये भी कहने लगा है कि अरे औरतें ज्यादा पढ़ने लिखने लगी हैं और ज्यादा इंडिपेंडेंट हो गई हैं, तो परिवार टूटने लगे हैं और बच्चे तो पैदा ही नहीं हो रहे, तो समाज का तो ह्रास होना ही है. तो इस लिहाज से फिर लगता है कि कुछ भी मुमकिन है. लेकिन हम सब कहीं ना कहीं अंदर से ऑप्टिमिस्टिक तो बने रहना चाहते हैं. तो इस कोशिश में फिर हम अगर वहां तक वो नौबत न भी आए तो उसके दायरे में कुछ भी ऐसा हो रहा हो जो फंडामेंटली महिला अधिकारों को उनसे छीनता हो, जो हमेशा से छीनता चला आ रहा है, उसके बारे में हम किस तरह से फिर उसका प्रतिरोध कैसे करते हैं वो हम तय कर सकते हैं. So how does that change? I mean, I think to be able to have a very clear understanding of what we want our choices to be as women is the first step towards that.
Yeah.
That why do I want to choose to, say, be a mother or not be a mother?
Yeah.
Why do I want to be in a marriage or not be in a marriage? To be defined by our own inner compass and the sense of resonance and dissonance, and stepping away from what is not resonating with us is the first step.
Yeah.
And that will come from education. That will come from any kind of liberation will not come without education. That will come from constant communication. That will come from constant engagement with each other to understand what it really means to have our rights on our own bodies, on the choices that we want to make about our work or not, or education or healthcare or anything that has to be a fundamental human right.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, are we getting there? Maybe in the near future, not. And if we continue to be aware of the fact that we may get there because it's a cautionary tale, then then there is hope.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said that because women are prioritizing their career, they are getting aware of their choices. If she decides that she doesn't want to bear kids, like she doesn't want to bear children, or she consciously deciding कि मुझे बच्चे नहीं पैदा करने, she's always labeled as selfish.
She will be labeled as selfish no matter what. If she decides to have her food first before the male members of the family, she'll be labeled selfish. If she decides to cook something for herself, she'll be called selfish. If she decides to go for a walk at 5:30 in the morning before making chai for everybody else, she'll be called selfish. So no matter what you do, you will still be labeled selfish. So I think we should not worry about that. But coming back to your question of whether or not to have children is completely, like I said, is an individual choice, and it is, mind you, as much a woman's choice, more a woman's choice than a man's. It is equally the man's choice also.
Yeah.
It has to be a mutual thing. If you have decided to have a child, you're not having it in isolation, unless, of course, science and technology.
Yeah.
But if you've chosen to have it for the sake of starting a family, these are two people who are coming together to create their family. So it has to be equal in that sense. The woman cannot be the primary bearer, nurturer, caregiver, and provider.
Yeah.
That is the problem. That is where we are, sort of then therefore questioning that is it even worth it?
Yeah, yeah. And do you think like these labelings are actually affecting the choices of motherhood? Because girls, since the time I've started Sukoon, I've been talking to a lot of girls, a lot of women, and they always tell me that there are a lot of unknowns in motherhood. Everything is behind closed doors. अभी पहले कैसे एक साथ सब रहते थे तो बातचीत होती थी, अभी सब न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज में है.
Reddit पे पढ़ के, threads पे पढ़ के हम फिर अपनी information ले रहे हैं, which is also great, but yeah.
Yeah, so एक ऐसी कोई है नहीं बड़ी दीदी या कोई जिससे हम पूछे और वो सच में जवाब दे एक सही तरह से, एक सही ढंग से उसको पेश करके कि देखो ऐसे ऐसे होता है, ऐसे ऐसे होता है, तो यू डिसाइड आपको करना है कि नहीं. बट ऐसा है कि एक औरत की लाइफ साइकिल कंप्लीट ही नहीं होती है. अगर आपने शादी नहीं की, आपने बच्चा नहीं किया, तो दैट मीन्स यू आर इनकम्प्लीट. एंड आपके व्हाई आर यू ऑन दिस अर्थ, आप जी क्यों रहे हो, क्योंकि वही तो आपकी लाइफ है.
करेक्ट. सो एक्चुअली बहुत लेयर्ड और कॉम्प्लेक्स सवाल है और इसके बहुत सारे जवाब होंगे, बट आई विल ट्राई टू आंसर वन एट अ टाइम. सबसे पहला जवाब तो ये है कि भाई इन टर्म्स ऑफ चॉइस की इंफॉर्मेशन. सो होता क्या है ना कि बड़ी दीदियाँ जो बताए कि ये रियलिटी है प्रेगनेंसी की या मदरहुड की, या आगे आप जिस तरह के द लाइफ दैट यू साइनिंग अप फॉर, उसकी ये चुनौतियां होंगी. सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत क्या है ना कि मदरहुड को तो हम ग्लोरीफाई कर देते हैं. सो हम तो बड़ी आसानी से भूल जाते हैं. अगर आप मुझसे पूछेंगी, बिकॉज आई हैव आल्सो रिटन अ बुक ऑन दैट, मे बी आई विल गिव यू अ different picture. But in general, if you ask women, because it's so glorified, and rightly so, it's a beautiful feeling. I'm a mother, and any mother would know, and I'm sure you would know, or anybody, that just to be able to hold or just to have that joy of having life in your hands and this sense of magic. Oh my God, I created a life. Is sublime. You cannot express it in words, and therefore it is a beautiful choice that you're making to create that life and to have that life in your life. However, because of the glorification of all the peripheral responsibilities, आपको वो मैजिक तो याद रह जाता है. उस मैजिक तक पहुंचने के लिए क्या क्या तकलीफें उठानी पड़ती हैं वो नहीं याद रहता, या कोई बताता नहीं आपको. तो मुझे लगता है कि उस बारे में और बात होनी चाहिए, जो कि होता है. अब सोशल मीडिया इज अ ग्रेट प्लेटफॉर्म वेयर ऑल दीज कन्वर्सेशंस हैपनिंग. सो if not a badi didi, but there's enough and more information available which can give you a reality check on what it is to get pregnant, or what it is to, like, emotionally, financially, what it really means to be a mother or a parent. The second part of the question is, yes, it takes a village to raise a child. Let's not forget that. It cannot be a woman's job and only a woman's job. And for her to expect कि तुम बच्चे भी पैदा करोगी और जाके खेत में काम भी करोगी जहाँ तुम्हारे लिए आंगनबाड़ी नहीं है और डे केयर नहीं है और क्रेच नहीं है, is unfair. and then you crib about the fact that women leave the workforce, so we don't want to train them. It is not an individual choice. It is not on women. It is on the society. If you want to continue to have a healthy society where you raise healthy children and, you know, procreate and evolve as a society. But it can't be only a woman's choice and shouldn't be.
So that means society is failing us, right? As
Did it ever? When did it not? But well, good question. And therefore then you begin to wonder कि हाँ मतलब तो उसको ना फिर यूनिफाइड तरीके से फिर पॉलिसी लेवल पे चेंजेस की बात करनी होगी, फिर यूनिफाइड तरीके से कम्युनिटीज फॉर्म करनी होगी, फिर उसको यूनिफाइड तरीके से इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि और कोई तरीका नहीं है. और वो भी होगा. यूरोप के बहुत सारे यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में होने लगा है ना अब. उन्हीं कंट्रीज में जहां 50 के दशक तक औरतों को वोट देने का अधिकार नहीं था, अब वही कंट्रीज अचानक से जग रहे हैं ना कि भाई हमारे पास बच्चे नहीं है, हम खत्म हो रहे हैं, हमारा समाज खत्म हो रहा है. सो देन in 50 years or less, things are changing. So it will come to a point where is that tipping point for India is something that we need to see, because also we are the most populated country and all of that. So we are far from wondering कि हमारी society कब खत्म होगी. But in general, just from the point of view of making this country a better place for women, will not come from just women. वो नकार खाने की तूती बोलते हैं ना, क्या झंडा ऊंचा किए रह रहे हैं, and you're blowing your own trumpet, you're hopping about the same thing again and again, and then you're termed a feminist. So
very easily.
I mean, why not, and why should we not be feminist, but more as a gali. So it has to be more concerted. It has to be institutionalized. It has to be done at various levels. It has to be a part of the political party's manifesto. It has to be part of, we have to go back and continuously examine, look at our law and the legal system, and look at what we are doing about fundamental rights, inheritance, marital rape, and violence against women, and so many other things, and sexual harassment, and so many other things that on an everyday level, the kind of battles that every single woman is going through.
And there's this very powerful line. I was just listening other day to Phulan Devi's interview. She said कि मैं भले अगले जन्म में जानवर बन जाऊँ चले और मुझे औरत नहीं बनना है. That powerful statement shows कितना exhaustion से गुजर रही है वो. What is this exhaustion that women feel from the society? What does this pressure do to them? कि वो औरत ही नहीं बनना चाहती है अगले जन्म में. कभी-कभी मैं भी आज मेरे दोस्तों के साथ बैठती हूँ, we all girl gangs are chilling, and I was like, यार बहुत किसी दिन पीरियड का बहुत पेन हो गया, यार मेरे को नहीं बनना है यार, अगले जन्म में ना मुझे मर्द ही बना दो यार. I don't want to live this female's life. It's why?
Because you gave the example of Phulan Devi, let me also quote another thing that she had said, which also speaks of her resilience. And to quote her, कौवा और औरत एक जैसे होते हैं, उनको मारा नहीं जा सकता. So that's also her resilience. That is her life. Yes, there was exhaustion, and must have been, and rightly so. Look at what she went through. And not only when she was abandoned, but also when she was captured, and if she was in jail. And if you know, she was the kind of challenges that she went through her own body, hysterectomy done without her consent. I mean, we think about it and it baffles you.
It does.
So, and then killed for who she was. But anyway, so coming back to what your question is, that well, it's a tough one. But with that sense of exhaustion also comes great deal of strength and resilience from the same reproductive system, which is constantly making your life miserable, and also is the storehouse of all the traumas that you're going through, and will also throw up a lot of other manifestations of it in terms of illnesses that women go through, invisible pain that they go through, which nobody talks about, diseases that they go through. And once once the service is given, you may have read about the case in Andhra Pradesh where so many women were made to go through hysterectomy, their uterus removed without even telling them what it really meant. Because the service is over. The uterus was supposed to be a bearer of the next generation. Ho gaya to nikal do bahar. So the point that I'm trying to make is there's so much of a woman's body that screams for care, and to be able to give the care that she is expected to give. So much nurturing and nourishment that she needs in order to be able to nourish others. So much of the own biology that is constantly exhausting her. It is exhausting. But from there comes a lot of strength. And to answer your question, that will continue to actually be supported or enabled when a lot of women came together to talk about it. And it will become in that sense bearable, because we all are in it together. The invisible pain, the healthcare that we need, the care that we need, the nourishment, the basic fundamental nutrients नहीं मिलते भाई. मतलब दूध घर के लड़के को मिल जाता है, लड़की को कभी नहीं मिलता, और उसको प्रोटीन की ज्यादा और कैल्शियम की ज्यादा जरूरत होती है. तो वो तो बेसिक. मैं पूरे बचपन मैंने सुना कि भाई तुम घी मत खाओ क्योंकि तुम मोटी हो जाओगी. और वो घी गरम बाकी मतलब भाइयों को मिलता था. सो इट वाज सच अ नॉर्मल थिंग बिकॉज यू डिडंट इवन think that, oh, this could be challenged or this should have been challenged. So basic, because nobody else will do it for us, we have to do it for ourselves, and we have to do it for each other is the only way to be. And अगले जन्म का किसने देखा है, इस जन्म को बेहतर बना लेते हैं, वो ज्यादा वही काफी होगा.
So since we're talking about Sukoon is basically where I want girls to know different kinds of motherhood that are there, different kinds of pain, even the happy things, even the sad things that girls go through. Everything is kept behind closed doors. Nobody knows actually what's happening. Like we discussed that peripherally dikhaya ja raha hai, but andar ki jo baatein hai wo bahar nahi aa rahi hai. So we just want to talk about different experiences that they go through, and I would want to know what was your pregnancy journey? Did you go through any postpartum, and how did you deal with all of that?
It was very tough. I had a very complicated pregnancy because twins. And I was completely out of commission through my pregnancy. I could not go to work. There were very little normal things that I could do. I couldn't even go for walks, and my dilation had started in the 6th month itself. So it was very, very tough. I was mostly on my back, lying on my back. Which is not the case for a lot of pregnancies. So this is not to scare anybody. But the bodies are very, very different from different people. And yes, sometimes I would often be like very inadvertently, I don't think it was intentional, from other women around me who would with a lot of like bafflement, they would say that, अरे हमारे साथ ऐसा नहीं होता था. अरे इतनी दिक्कत तो नहीं होनी चाहिए थी. अरे हमको इतने चक्कर तो नहीं आते थे. And then I would begin to wonder if it was really seriously my problem. I was seriously more delicate than others, which I was, and I should not be ashamed of it. The point is, don't attach shame to whatever you are going through. Yes, it is, you will probably be more sick than the others, or not. You will probably not have any kind of morning sickness, or maybe you'll have a lot of it. All of it is normal. All of it is, really dependent on body to body, and it is not defined by, there is no standard rule book that can define how a body, a female body will take pregnancy. Nothing, absolutely. Of course, there are week milestones that we all know of. But it's only in terms of the fetus growth. It is not, it can't define what a woman's body will go through. So I had a very tough pregnancy. I also had a very tough delivery. I have written about it, and it was quite dramatic, as are a lot of things in my life. I actually went into labor, premature labor, and for many hours I was in labor. I didn't even know I was in labor because I'm so used to being in pain.
Oh.
So if you're so used to being in pain, I mean, बाद में ना बहुत सारे डॉक्टर्स मुझे बोलते थे, अभी भी बोलते, अब नहीं बोलते क्योंकि अब मैं ज्यादा ड्रामा करती हूँ, पर हमेशा से मुझे डॉक्टर ने यही बोला कि आपका ना पेन थ्रेशोल्ड बहुत हाई है.
अच्छा.
और हमेशा से मतलब पेन हैज बीन अ कांस्टेंट थिंग विद मी एंड I actually want to write about it, and that's what the fourth book is about. It's called Pen, Pain, and Paper.
Wow.
Writing through pain.
Yeah.
So, and invisible pain, a lot of pain that women go through. तो वो हमेशा से था कि आपको समझ ही नहीं, मतलब पेन तो ऐसा क्या है, आप तो, मुझे तो बहुत खराब पीरियड्स पेन, मतलब डिस्मेनोरिया जिसको बोलते हैं, एंडोमेट्रियोसिस की वजह से, या देयर सो मेनी अदर थिंग्स दैट women go through. So it used to be really bad. सो मुझे लगा कि अच्छा वो पेन बर्दाश्त कर लेते तो लेबर पेन हो रहा है, मुझे पता ही नहीं चला कि लेबर पेन हो रहा है फॉर आवर्स, एंड देन लेटर व्हेन आई वाज टेकन एंड व्हाटएवर, सो डिस्ट्रेस, ये वो बहुत सारा, सो इट वाज क्वाइट कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, एंड इवेंचुअली by the time I came back with the two babies, I don't think I really had time to process my postpartum because you were completely engrossed in like meal to meal, feet to feet, diaper to diaper, you know, kind of an arrangement.
और एक नहीं दो दो.
And you're also grieving for what you were like 8 months, 9 months ago. I was then working with a news channel and I loved my job. Like I really loved my job. I really badly wanted to go back to it. So you're also grieving for the fact that you may never be able to go back to it because your life has completely changed. Your body has changed. I had gained some 25 kgs. During pregnancy and during delivery, and I knew that I would never be able to go back to my original body. So you're grieving of a lot of other things, you know, the stretch marks that will never go, the mother belly that you will have which will never go, and not ready to accept any of this. And then also inducing a lot of pressure on yourself for the fact that, you know, I'm not lactating enough, probably I'm not feeding two babies enough, and I'm not, you know, there's anger or resentment in my body, or there's pain in my body, maybe I'm transferring that through the touch to my baby, so constant like pressure. So
and also the society tells you, right, like
Yeah.
enough दूध नहीं आ रहा है, like my friend was
all
telling
the
me
time.
कि उसकी जो बाई आ रही थी वो उसको बोल रही थी आपका दूध नहीं है enough दीदी. I'm
हाँ.
like why is
साबूदाना खाओ, पपीता खाओ, ये खाओ, वो खाओ. एक बार तो मुझे याद है कि I really snapped really badly at my mother. मतलब I broke down. But she's like cribbing about the fact that मतलब लेकिन कैसे, मतलब मैं कहा कि आपको समझ में आ रहा है, मेरे पीठ में इतना दर्द हो रहा है कि मुझसे बैठा नहीं जा रहा, और आप मुझसे मतलब अब क्या कर, मैं मर जाऊं क्या? So
yeah.
So and unfortunately women, like I said, forget their own trauma and they become the carrier of their own trauma, like, you know, the trauma on the next person. And that has been my lifelong mission ki bhai, if there is anything that you can do, please be compassionate towards a mother, a young mother. Please offer her space, please offer her support. If there's anything that you can do, I mean, consciously, if I look at somebody in a flight who's carrying a young baby, my first instinct is to say that, you know, why don't you sit down? I can hold your baby for 10 minutes. It'll give you back relief. I never had relief. I was always carrying one child because I had two. So चलो एक तो नैनी ने पकड़ लिया या किसी और ने पकड़ लिया, आप तो एक बच्चा हमेशा. Constantly मेरा मतलब it gave way to a slipped disc, which was something that I had to be hospitalized for 7 days. I had to quit my job. It was a mess. So my postpartum actually hit very late. I didn't realize that I was going through. Like it just kind of sort of accumulated and came down on me in a very bad way. My depression was really bad. But through that depression, I actually also became a lot more creative, and I was writing a lot through my pain, and that's how I became a writer. I actually became a writer through my postpartum. I wouldn't have been so honest, so ruthlessly, shamelessly vulnerable with whatever I was writing, unabashedly, like fearlessly, if I went a mother, if I had not known what postpartum is, if I had not known how visceral or how like physical the pain of being a mother is. So while it's a warning that I'm giving to all wannabe or would-be mothers or aspiring mothers here, it's also a word of encouragement that you will find your true self also through that. So allow yourself to give birth to a new you as much as you have given birth to a new child.
Yeah. Yeah. So you kept on delaying the postpartum thing, right? And that's how it all accumulated and you started with. If you would have solved it way before, do you think there would have been a
I don't think
difference?
there was any wherewithal also. I didn't have the understanding. Postpartum
I
was
think
not
तभी
even.
था भी नहीं, ज़्यादा
there
discuss
was
भी नहीं
no,
होता था.
matlab, I was reading Dr. Spokes at that time, Spokes or Spokes, whatever it is called, that famous book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, or What to Expect When the Baby's Young, whatever, those, like the
Yeah.
series of books that everybody reads from 50 years, 60 years ago.
Hmm.
It does talk about postpartum, but really there was no mind space, there was no bandwidth.
Yeah.
There was so much that anyway, on an everyday level, you're dealing with childcare,
Yeah.
work-life balance, financial security that you have to put together for the children.
Yeah.
Having children is expensive.
Yeah.
Their diapers, their milk, their the kind of lifestyle that you want to give them. Everything is expensive, which
Yeah.
means it's tough to be a single income family, which means if it's a double income family, the pressure invariably is coming on the woman. In a lot of cases, as is the case because women have managed to achieve a lot more and they are far more ambitious, sometimes they are the one who are the primary providers of the family also. And then they end up becoming the primary caregivers also. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
You have no time to process your postpartum.
Yeah.
So would it have been better? I don't know, and I don't think about it so much in hindsight. What I do think about in hindsight is what are the lessons that I learned from there. And the one lesson is that you have to seek help. You have to ask for help. And nobody will offer you help unless you scream at the rooftop and say that, bloody hell, this is not mine and mine alone to handle. You better do it.
Yeah.
2, that understanding came to me very late in life. But yeah, that was my biggest lesson.
You have to ask for it.
You have to scream and ask for it. And you have to let it come if it is coming your way. Please allow it. You don't have to. It's the biggest myth. You can have it all.
Yeah.
It's the biggest lie ever told to a woman. You cannot have it all. And even if you can have it all, you must ask for more.
Yeah.
Family and career are not the only 2 things that defines you.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. True. So how when did you get back to work? Once you had
I actually, so staggered manner, I did try to go back to work when my kids were 5 months old. I went back to the same news organization, but quit in a few months because of my health condition, because of slip disc and all. But somehow I was lucky to always land up. So I quit. In fact, it's so uncanny that I resigned and I was on my way when a colleague of mine called up and she said that, I heard you've resigned. I said, yeah. It's like, I have a freelance assignment for you. Can you, instead of going to Noida, turn your car towards Gulmohar Park? There's a client waiting to meet you.
Wow.
So that's how, I
Yeah.
quit my job and within a month I landed up with a documentary assignment. And I was like, I've never made documentaries. She was a senior, she was my batchmate, but her child was a year younger than me, older than me, mine. So she'd been there, so she knew. She's like, you'll be able to do it. Kar logi, just go with the belief. So I actually shot my first documentary when my children were a year old, which meant like 10 days of shooting in Jharkhand and West Bengal with heavy cameras in a place where for 9 kilometers there would be no roads, which means you would have to walk a lot. This after I had recovered from my slipped disc. So all of that, but I got back to work because I was, sort of very open to learning new things. Then I did that. Then I would take a break. Like I would work on an assignment. Then I would go in hibernation for months and I would not be seen because I would be fully focused on spending my time with the children. Then I would again take up an assignment and go away for a month, finish it off and come back. So that's how. But full-time work, like I kept doing a lot of these freelance assignments. I also did journalism. I also did communications consulting, a lot of that when the kids were young. Always hustling, like stretching myself. I don't think I have slept for 8 hours at a stretch ever since I became a mother. I'm not saying this with a matter of pride. It's a matter of great shame. But always hustling. But full time, like really focused on my career, I think I started when my children became 10 years old. It was like, ho gaya, I did my bit. Now I'm going to pursue my dreams and
Yeah.
passion and career.
Yeah. Was it easier for you to get back to work when you started doing freelancing?
Every time it was tough. You were always compromising. You would always be underpaid. You would always want flexibility, which meant that you would have to just say yes to whatever was coming your way. You always really just like dil pe patthar rakh ke aap bahut sari cheezein karte the. It was not easy.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's not just about the money, it's about you being able to create or do something else apart from
Just being
the-
a mother.
Yeah,
So you're constantly trying to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You're always trying to up your game. You're always on the edge. It's not easy to be on the edge all the time.
yeah.
You're always living in the state of constant stress and trauma.
Yeah.
And what is known as fight or flight. That's not a very healthy way for a body to live. But a
Yeah.
lot of women live like that, and men too. But women more so because they're walking on the double-edged sword
Yeah.
of having it all.
Yeah, those I think these old 70s, 80s Hollywood movies have that thing has actually ruined or that whole structure. Ki, "Arey, nahi, you can have it all. You can have it all."
Yeah.
We've been grown up watching all of that.
Yeah.
It does take a toll on you, and because बचपन में वही देखते आ रहे हो तो वो mindset ही ऐसा हो गया, yeah, I can have it all, and by hook or crook I'm going to do this. फिर मेरी body के साथ कुछ भी हो जाए, and then when you're 30 it catches up. I'm like, no,
And
my
how?
body can't take it
My
anymore.
God, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That also is a thing that we don't talk about women health enough.
Yeah.
We do not talk about the pain women go through enough. We don't talk about what is known as gynac problems enough,
Yeah.
which is as equally important as say a diabetes or
Yeah.
any lifestyle problems or BP or heart problem. But it is always like pushed under the carpet. Why is it that 80% of the autoimmune disorders happen to women and not men? And there's this data. It's not something that I am saying. There's data which
Yeah.
proves that 80% autoimmune women are suffering from.
Yeah.
So
Carrying all of that trauma.
intergenerational trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So will it end? I think the first step is to acknowledge, to become aware of it and to acknowledge and to talk about it, and then therefore be on this constant relentless path of first healing yourself and then breaking the pattern of intergenerational trauma, especially of all sorts of invisible pain and autoimmune disorders that we keep talking about, or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think even still being a mother, you're like working as a professional writer. You have to be present 24/7 in your personal and professional life. And being a writer or be it any creative freelancer, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It demands a lot of more of your time, and it has erratic schedules. कभी सुबह में, कभी शाम में, कुछ fix नहीं है. How do you manage that balance?
I fail at it miserably. I'm always at my wit's end. I'm always like, the hair is never like this. The lipstick is never like this. This is all made up. But no, I think there are tools which starts from planning, which starts from prioritizing, like really knowing what is important. And the one thing that has happened to me now is that my children have become my ally because they're grown up now.
Yeah.
So they're my best allies. Like a lot of work is now, sort of assigned to them. They order groceries. They will get me flowers because they know that mama loves flowers. Or they are planning a lot of things. They book their own tickets. They also, manage sometimes budgeting, accounts of the house and all of that.
And it's so amazing that you have a girl and a boy. And I'm really curious, how are you raising them both? Because वो राजा बेटा syndrome होना बहुत easy है ना, because we've seen growing up कि अरे इसको तो मैं थोड़ा सा और preference दूंगी, and it's not कि वो हम intentionally करते, कभी कभी देख के हो जाता है कि कैसे. So I'm very curious to know how you're raising them.
I think just one example should be able to answer that. So my daughter, who's in college now, is as we speak fighting the elections for her college union body as the Minister of Finance. As in, which means then finance, budgeting, all of that. She will hopefully eventually learn to do, or will have to force her to learn to do. And it is my son who's brilliant at putting the menu together for what will be made for dinner or lunch.
Wow.
Or making sure that the fridge is always filled, or what are the things that are not there in the in the stack. So yeah, I guess that's how I've raised them. Not to say that the other can't do. They're both equally equipped to do both the things, but yeah, that has been a deliberate way of making sure that it is always my son's job to make sure that if he's the last one to eat, the table's cleared, the food stacked back in the fridge, the kitchen platform is clean enough for me to come for my morning, tea or whatever. So yeah, and just these little things, and not assigning gender stereotypes to anything. कि अरे भाई मतलब घर है, हम दोनों रह रहे हैं ना, हम सब रह रहे हैं, तो हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी उतनी बनती है. ये किसने कह दिया कि ये उसका काम है या उसका वह काम है.
Right.
तो राजा बेटा अगर कुछ करेगा तो रानी बेटी को भी तो सीखना होगा. So it's just that. I mean, you really have to be skilled at everything. You have to learn to know, stitch your, which actually it has changed a lot. And when I see around this generation of men, especially a lot of at least urban men, have become very, very conscious. And it's such a heartening change, because I actually have friends. My brothers are better cooks than I am. I'm a horrible cook. A lot of my friends are better at a lot of house management than I could ever be.
Okay.
So you already see that change.
Yeah. So like you said that...
Find those men and keep them close is also an advice I would give.
I think finding those men is the toughest job. How do you find these men? There are so many matrimonial sites. उधर भी नहीं मिल रहा है, लोग ट्विटर पे ढूंढ रहे हैं, वहाँ पे भी नहीं मिल रहा है.
No, I mean, I didn't essentially mean only as life partners.
But in general.
Just as friends, as allies, as, celebrate those things that your brothers are doing for you, or your sons are doing for you, or your nephews, or cousins, or friends. Keep those men as friends. Oh my God, the world will be such a beautiful place. You don't essentially have to get married to every green flag man.
True. So, like for women who are considering, who are already freelancers, or who are considering that maybe we are done with the in 9-to-5 job, they want to switch to being freelancers, and then they're planning about motherhood. You've been in this for quite a long time now, and what are the insights that you would give to them? How can they make this balance, and how do they manage this both?
It's a very great question, and actually it's a great place to be in, to be able to also not be the victim of the pressure of a lot of this. While there is a lot of stability when a corporate career brings to you, it also brings to you a lot of challenges. It doesn't allow you your own time or how you want to manage your time. Freelancing allows you that. So the one piece of advice is you should know how to manage your time. That's the best thing that you can do to yourself. Learn your tools. Have that skill in place, even if it means learning that from a proper person, in the sense that if you have to train yourself, do that training. There are certain life skills that come with certain kind of trainings. Like we are not, for example, if you've been a science student or a humanities student, we are never taught budgeting. We are never taught profit and loss. We are never taught revenue generation. We are never taught business development. We never taught sales. While these are very specific areas or skill sets to have in a workplace, these are also life skills. Sales is not just about selling something, a commodity or a product. Selling something is also about, owning your story and telling it in a way where you impress somebody enough for them to invest their money in you, so that you can offer your talent and skill and time against a transaction, against a cost that they will, they will pay you a budget that
they're willing to pay that.
Yes. So then all of these skill sets, just like go back and have those life skills in place. That's one. The second thing is learn to time manage. The third thing is have a very solid network of freelancers. people who are in the same industry, because invariably a lot of work will come from there. A lot of referrals work. When you've worked with somebody, and at least in our business, it never comes from, cold calls or whatever. It mostly comes from referrals and people talking about each other. You've worked on something, and then the person will go. So, which also means that you have to have a solid, very well-defined work ethic.
Yeah.
More so as a freelancer, because that defines how you're showing up at work.
Right.
So, and the fourth most important thing is communication. Communicate if you're in problem. Communicate if there's a challenge. Communicate if there is any reason why you can't meet a deadline. Communicate if there is something that you want to. So basically, keep the communication open. It's a tough one, because being honest is not appreciated in the world that we live in, because it is often considered as being arrogant, or is considered equivalent to being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But it's okay. People who don't understand your honesty are probably not the kind of value system that you want to keep yourself aligned with, and then you will separate yourself from that.
Yeah.
So the fifth, therefore, advice would be walk away from situations that are not working for you. Not every project is meant for you. So have the courage to say no to something which is not resonating with you. So these are the 5 things I would say that a freelancer, especially a woman freelancer, should really be aware of. Because yes, like you rightly said, there's so much balancing act that one has to do.
Yeah, true. Actually, these 5 points, I'm thinking that I also need to inculcate them, because I've been doing freelancing. I'm not a mother yet, but still it's so difficult for me to even manage this, because if I place a point across a room, I come off as arrogant, and I don't want to have that kind of title on me ki ye arrogant ladki hai.
Which is okay. Why? Labels are meant to be broken away from, like broken and walked away from.
Yeah.
करने दो लोगों को जिस तरह से भी label करते हैं. Okay, the other thing is, how authentic are you to yourself?
Yeah.
The most difficult thing. And it is gender agnostic. It's not only for a woman. The fact is, are we authentic to ourselves? Can we just stay true to our core?
Yeah.
The toughest thing to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it clashes with your own ambition, because your ambition may not resonate with some of these life choices that you want to make. So basically, to each one's own. There is no standard template. So what is it working? What is it that will work for you is something that you need to define, and then work your life around it.
Yeah.
That's how being a good freelancer, by good I mean living your fullest potential. That's what I mean.
Yeah, right. So, like you also know, like, why have we created Sukoon? And we've talked a lot about womanhood, motherhood, that women need to come together, unite together. It's only if, like, you got a call while you were leaving, well, when you resigned, you got a call from a female who had a kid, and she said there's a documentary being made. So we need these women allies as
all
well,
the time,
apart from the male allies.
Yeah.
Just how can we create that circle? Because बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि community तो बन जाती है, but still उसमें भी ऐसा होता है कि बहुत सारी औरतें suddenly मतलब change हो जाती है, वही एक दूसरे की दुश्मन होने लगती है.
बिल्कुल. और इतना बड़ा भय होता है ना वो, कि वो मेरी जगह ले लेगी, या इतनी जगह है इसमें, या फिर अगर मुझे प्यार नहीं मिला, तो अगर मैंने इतना नहीं किया, मतलब परिवार के सिस्टम में वैलिडेट नहीं किया, तो बड़ी बहू को नहीं तो छोटी बहू को मिल जाएगा. So there's this constant fear where you're being you're also being fed कि you are replaceable. आपकी जगह कोई और ले सकता है. आपके वर्क प्लेस में भी वही है, परिवार में भी वही है. और जब आप बड़े हो रहे थे तो वैसे भी आप तो रिप्लेसेबल थे, मतलब वैसे भी लड़का चाहिए था, आप तो गलती से पैदा हो गए. most of the cases. So जो उस केस में ना बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है कि बहुत कॉन्शियसली, क्योंकि और सबसे इसलिए तो डरते हैं, औरतों के एकजुट होने से डर क्यों लगता है? इसलिए क्योंकि जब एकजुट होंगी तो फिर तोड़फोड़ मचाएंगी. फिर तो उनकी ताकत एक्चुअली किसी भी किस्म की यूनिफाइड ताकत से बड़ी होगी. वो सत्ता की ताकत से बड़ी होगी, वो संस्थागत ताकतों से बड़ी होगी, वो किसी भी किस्म के युद्ध से बड़ी होगी. इसीलिए तो उनको तोड़ के रखा जाता है. तो फिर ये इसीलिए उस नेटवर्क की जरूरत होती है, which is why women must mentor younger women more. Which is why there has to be a conscious effort of actually forwarding the other opportunities that are coming your way
Hmm.
and be each other's champions and advocates wherever possible.
Yeah, yeah, right. Are there any points that we've not covered? Is there something that you would like to, ऐसे कुछ टॉपिक है जो हमने डिग नहीं किया है, आप उसके बारे में बताना चाहते हो कि गर्ल्स शुड नो अबाउट दिस?
I think it has been a very well-rounded conversation और हमने बहुत सारी चीज़ों पे बात किया है. लेकिन reiterate करने के लिहाज से मैं जो एक बात बार-बार बोलना चाहती हूँ वो ये कि अम, एक दूसरे से बात करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Just ask questions
No.
and stay informed, stay educated. अगर चाहे वो किसी चीज़ का भी मतलब कोई भी मसला हो, बहुत फनी बात मैं बोलने जा रही हूँ, लेकिन मान लिया कि अगर आप शादी करने का इरादा रखती हैं और आप डेटिंग ऐप पे हैं या शादी नहीं भी करने का इरादा रखती हैं और डेटिंग ऐप पे हैं,
हाँ.
तो आपके साथ आपकी कोई और दोस्त भी होगी.
Yeah.
Please exchange notes on the kind of men that you guys are meeting.
Yeah.
Similarly, please exchange notes on the kind of bosses or people in workplaces. Like, as much as possible, keep the transparency off, because you never know what will come through
Yeah.
as something which will change the other's life or your own life.
Hmm.
So ये जो होता है ना, हमको हम डर डर के नहीं बताते कि अरे ये
Yeah.
हम कैसे बता दें, अरे हमको एक बड़ा अच्छा डील मिल गया कहीं पे,
हाँ.
तो हम नहीं बताते क्योंकि हमको लगता है कि अरे फिर तो हमारे लिए नहीं बचेगा.
हाँ.
There is enough and more in the universe,
Yeah.
in the world that we're living in.
Yeah.
We are blessed
With
इतनी
abundance
actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
खासकर इस देश में.
हाँ.
तो ये नहीं तो कोई और सही, वो नहीं तो कुछ और सही, पर
हाँ.
मिलेगा जरूर. पर बात करते रहिए, क्योंकि तभी बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन क्रॉस चेक हो पाएगी. सो जस्ट
Yeah.
पिक अप द फोन इफ you're, for example, if there's a medical problem that you're going through, pick up the phone and ask the other person if she's gone through the same thing, and if there is a better advice or
Yeah.
if there is any reference that one can go through
Hmm.
which can be used to one's advantage. We are living in a world where information is free flowing, is easily available, also aplenty, which is another problem, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about it some other time. So
Yeah.
cross check.
Yeah.
And stay in touch.
Hmm.
Keep the network close. Like really just share as much as possible is
Hmm.
something that I would want to say to Sukoon, to the collective, to every other collective
Yeah.
that we all can be a part of.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anu, for giving your time. It really means a lot that आप इतने बहुत मतलब you're literally fighting with words. आप एक battle लड़ रहे but with words and making people feel that kind of emotions, and which is very necessary right now because people are losing touch with each other
Yeah.
because of the social media thing. सब घर पे बैठ के अपने में हैं. People, and especially after COVID, people want that human touch.
Yeah.
Everyone is craving for
Yeah.
it, and we need that through your stories.
I hope so.
But-
Yeah. Yeah, we need to hug each other more also. That is what's important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so lovely to talk to you, Payal, and very good questions. And I hope some of these answers can, if not inspire, at least change the way we look at ourselves and the lives around us.
Yeah, definitely they will. Thank you for inspiring us.
Thank you.
Thank you.